We will now begin the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency's board meeting today, Tuesday, March 10th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Would everyone please rise for invocation by Reverend Woodrow Hay from St. John's Missionary Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, you spoke to us with authority as you reminded us that to whom much is given, much is required. And so we pray this afternoon that you teach us, O Lord, to acknowledge you as the source of all wisdom. We pray that you help us to be submissive to your authority. Father God, we are in obedience to your word. We make intercessions and stand in the gap on behalf of those who are in position of authority, so that we can live peaceful and quiet lives, marked by godliness and dignity. We pray for our president, our congressmen, governors and mayors, and all the political leaders, especially for our commissioners of this great city as well as the CRA board. We pray that our leaders will delight in your law and will meditate in it day and night. And as they do this, Father, we pray that they will be like trees planted along the riverbank, bearing fruit in each season. Again, we thank you, Father, for your leaders that you have allowed to be appointed, elected, and re-elected. Give them wisdom that only you can do. And as we carry out your will within this great city of Boynton Beach, help us to make decisions that will be pleasing in your sight. Let these decisions be for the good of all citizens. And for that, Father, we'll be so careful to give you all the honor and all the praise that you deserve. For it is in your Savior's name that we pray. Let every heart say, Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stephen
Present.
Vice Chair Justin.
I'm good.
Here. Board Member Ty Conserva.
Here.
Board Member Matthew Craig.
Here.
Board Member Christina Ramos.
Absent. All right, thank you. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
I have one.
Yes.
Right where it says information only, I would like to be given the privilege tonight to speak, on behalf of, this is my last meeting as a board member for the CRA.
All right. So we'll add, the other thing that I'd like to add that I believe we discussed at last meeting was regarding our neighborhood officer program allowing non-Boynton Beach police officers to be working overtime through those funds that we have because one of our officers is off duty. And so I'd like to put that as old business item G.
Mayor, for clarification, did you just say non-Boynton Beach police officers?
No, I said,
He said non-Boynton Beach police officer.
I'm sorry, I meant Boynton Beach police officers.
You're just saying non-NOP police officers.
Not NOP police officers, correct.
Got it.
So that all Boynton Beach police officers. May I have a motion to approve as amended?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Legal, corrective amendments to the Exhibit A of the 500 Ocean Direct Incentive Funding Agreement.
This is just a correction to...
Can you state your name for the record?
Sorry, Catherine Rossmell from Lewis, Logman, and Walker. This is just a correction to clarify an inconsistency between the main part of a contract and an attachment thereto. It's been approved by staff and the other parties.
May I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. One of the other things, Catherine, I'd like our legal team to look up is that what effect does the merger of the Community Caring Center have with Feeding South Florida regarding the contract that we've signed?
Okay. I will add it to legal.
Okay, thank you. Informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Vice Chair, would you like to begin?
Nothing to disclose.
Commissioner Romulus.
For today, nothing to disclose. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Board member Tenserga.
Nothing to disclose.
I had breakfast a couple times at the Coffee and Ale Exchange, and they're on the agenda, so I would like to disclose that. Board member McCray, you have the floor.
Thank you. This is probably going to be bittersweet, but I'm going to be brief. To my colleagues that I'm sitting up here with, I'd just like to say in regards to the CRA, I will give you all your accolades at our commission meeting. I don't believe in saying to be redundant and repeating the same thing over and over again. But I'd like to say to the CRA staff, I will start with Mr. Simon, the director of the CRA. And so I want to tell you the 6 years they have been fun. A lot of times we did not agree, but we walked away being friends. I'd like to say to the assistant director, thank you for coming on board. I was here doing your hiring. I watched you grow, and with you and Michael at the helm, Boynton is headed in the right direction. I'm going to challenge the two of you. The funds that we have set aside for you all to go and be educated further, make use of those funds. I'm just saying, so when opportunity itself presents, you all are ready. I don't want you all to feel like y'all are stuck here in Boynton. And I want the two of you to realize that, whether I'm here or not, I want you to be able to read your name and say that Michael Simon and Mrs. Schultz, they started out in Boynton or Delray, wherever, but your name was nationally known. And I want you all to strive for that because you all can do it. I'm just saying, I watch you all grow, and it's in you all, and continue to strive. I'd like to say to the CRA staff, I'm being like a parent tonight. And I know a lot of times I had you all up front, I was asking questions, and y'all talking about, well, why is he challenging us, and why is he making us do this? And we were all nervous. I'm glad you all got nervous. The reason I'm glad you got nervous was I watched you all grow. I watched you all receive promotions that you all earned. I watched new hires step up to the plate and took the helm and did what you were supposed to do. And for that, I'm grateful. I challenged our publication department. I said, you know what? Make us proud. And tonight when I got this book, thank you for giving it to me, and I looked at this. This is what I'm talking about. I'm going to challenge the staff of the CRA. Any educational opportunities that come up, take advantage of them. And the reason I say that is that when opportunity knocks at your door, I want you to be ready to step in. Just like our person that came in, to take over the finance, I'm just saying, when the long person that was there that handled that, when she left, you had learned enough that you was able to step in and fill that gap. This is what I'm talking about. It's on-the-job training. Sure, I made a lot of friends sitting up here. Probably made some enemies too, but guess what? I always tell people, my friend list is, real short. My enemy list is very, very long, but it's been a fun-filled 6 years, almost 13, 14, or 15 years, however long, who's counting? But anyway, it's been fun. And to the staff, I want you to continue to grow. I watch a lot of you as you came before us and you was able to speak. I'm just saying you was real nervous, and now you all stand before us and you sound just like Chatty Cathy. We can't stop you from talking, and for that I'm proud, because that's what it's all about. It's being able to stand up before a group and go ahead and say what you have to say and need to say and not be afraid to say it. I want to thank you all, first of all, when I will come over to the CRA office, how you all greeted me, made sure I had water, made sure I had my packages and everything. Some of y'all wanted me probably to leave, but I stayed as long as I want to. But anyway, you all made me feel real proud Nobody ran and hid and said, here, and said, Commissioner McCray is here, Board Member McCray is here, we better kind of tighten up and everything. You kept doing what you're supposed to do. Whether Michael was there, Joseph was there, I watched your behavior. I'm proud of you, all of you. I watched a lot of you all go from one job to another, leave this city and go to other things, and that's what it's all about, as being a board member. We're pushing you all. I'm pushing you to be the best that you can be. A lot of y'all want to know, what am I going to do when I leave here? First thing I'm going to do is say, whew. But in church, we sing a hymn. And it says, we used to sing a hymn. We don't sing hymns in church like we used to, but we sing one, and I'm very familiar with it, and I always love it, and that is, wherever he leads me, I will follow. And for that, I love each of you. And thanks for making my 6 years a lot of fun. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to start crying. Stop. Sit down. Let's go. Thank you. Bottle of water. Thank you.
Any other informational items? Hearing
Make
none?
sure I bring the tissues next week.
All right. Yes.
Oh, you're a lady attendant. Yeah.
Oh, yes. We forgot one more.
Board Member McCray, we have a plaque to give you in appreciation of all of your years of service and working together. And we just wanted to give you a little something that you can leave with to carry us on. We're always here. You know where we are, and your words tonight and your words over the last 6 years plus really been appreciated, and I know they're sincere. We really, really do. We're going to miss you.
I'd just like to ask one question. This is not over $100.
All right. Moving on to announcements and awards. Our first announcement is Rock the Plaza on February 29th, 2020 at Ocean Palm Plaza Recap.
Good evening. Open Business Promotions and Events Manager. On Saturday, February 29th, the CRA hosted the Rock the Plaza event at Ocean Palm Plaza. This event spotlighted the restaurants, retail, and service businesses that operate out of that plaza. We estimate that the attendance was approximately 250 people throughout the entire event. During the event, we did have 2 ceremonial ribbon cuttings. The first for the new Crime Prevention and Neighborhood Officer Program office located at the plaza for the Boynton Beach Police Department, and the second one being to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of your CBD store. We did conduct a feedback survey at the event where we found out that 46% of the respondents had never visited the plaza before, so that was great feedback that we received. And then we also, following the event, we conducted an impact survey with the businesses located in that plaza. We're still waiting on the results to come back from that, but based off of the initial feedback that staff received from speaking with them during the event, the majority of the businesses were all very grateful for the exposure that they received with the event, and they're looking forward to having it back again next year. And I just have a few photos from the event. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, but Mercedes, I want to personally tell you thank you. I watch you grow.
Thank
I
you.
watch your voice get elevated. You don't mind talking now, and that's what it's all about. I'm proud of you. Continue.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Okay, so moving on to the Rock the Plaza announcement for Sunshine Square. That event will be taking place on March 28th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. At the Sunshine Square Shopping Plaza located at 501 Southeast 18th Avenue, and that is on the southwest corner of Federal Highway and Woolbright Road. For that event, we will have live music by the band Completely Unchained, and that is a Van Halen tribute band. We are encouraging all of the businesses located within that shopping plaza to take advantage of a 10 by 10 tent that we'll be setting up in our designated event area so that they can get additional exposure during the event. And we will have a business promotional game that we will play with all of the participating businesses, encouraging patrons to participate and engage with those businesses. Any questions?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy's going to go over some of the marketing that's been completed for that event.
Tracy Smith Coffee, Boynton Beach CRA Marketing and Business Development. The first ad is it was in the Delray newspaper and also the Boca newspaper, and that reaches 15,000 people on directly online readers and a circulation of 12,000 that were distributed. The next ad, full-page ad, is the neighborhood news, and that reaches the Western community. And it also reaches a digital, they have a digital following on Facebook and also on their website. So that was also on their website and their Facebook page.
Okay, so moving on to the Boynton Beach Blarney Bash. This event, we are now in the 6th annual event for the Blarney Bash. It's going to be held on Saturday, March 14th, which is this Saturday, from 4 to 9 p.m. This free event will take place along in downtown Boynton Beach along East Ocean Avenue and Northeast 4th Street, surrounding the Dewey Park and the surrounding area. We will have free parking available at various lots surrounding the event site, and that can be found on our website, catchboynton.com. The event will feature live music from the Flyers, the Killbillies, and the Reeling Rogues. We will also have a performance from the Aaron Moore Academy of Irish Dance, as well as roaming bagpipers throughout the event. Our food court will feature a variety of Irish and American options, including shepherd's pie and some Irish sausages. And we will have local CRA businesses featured in our food court. We'll have Guaca Go. They'll be soon opening at 500 Ocean. And we will also have Choi's Barbecue on site at the event. We'll have craft beer selections on tap from the local Boynton Beach breweries. And we'll have a variety of fun activities and games for adults and children alike, including costume contests, opportunities to do our Lucky Gold Hunt as well. Currently, we have 13 CRA district businesses signed up for the event, so we're very excited that we've received this type of interest from the local community, specifically the businesses in the CRA district. We are working on a Lucky Gold Hunt game, which will encourage the event patrons to visit the different businesses that are going to be set up at the event. Any questions?
Mercedes,
Yes.
is this more businesses this year or is it fewer?
It's more businesses. Last year we had 7.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that's 13 out of 17. There's only 4 that
Yes.
are not. So that's
good news.
that is huge, really great.
Yep.
Thank you for asking.
And will there be plenty of hand sanitizer?
Yes, sir. There will be. I've actually went ahead and secured a restroom trailer so that we would actually have a sink so that people could wash their hands on site. And I've ordered additional hand sanitizer units so that we can have them throughout the event.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bravo.
I'd like to say to Tracy, I need you to step back to the mic, please. This is my last night. I talk much as I want to. I want to tell you thank you. You was one of the people that I stayed in behind. And I said, do better, do better, do better. And this is what I'm talking about. This is what make us win awards here in Boynton. Continue to use your talent. This is a gift.
Yeah.
Everybody can't do it. Keep shooting for the stars. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the Blarney Bash marketing, as you can see, we've split it up with the Rock the Plaza because we have 2 events for the month of March. So this is the Delray newspaper and Boca newspaper, and its reach is, hold on. They have 15,000 on direct online readers and 12,000 papers out. So now we're on the Coastal Star, and with that, we put out a quarter page ad, as you can see on the bottom, and that publication reaches the Eastern community. This is a picture of our billboard. It's not a very good picture. That's what they sent me. That is the billboard on I-95 in Gateway.
Cool.
And we also did a very strong social media campaign for Blarney Bash. The cost for the campaign in the packet, it was $500, but we added another $100 today for an ad that's going out tomorrow on Facebook. And this is our Instagram and our Twitters, our two Twitter posts. Any questions?
Board, I'd also like to, it's not part of the agenda, but we wanted to announce to you today that on Friday at 10 a.m., this Friday the 13th at 10 a.m., Common Grounds Coffee, which is a new business that has located themselves in the CRA district and a benefit of our grant program, will be doing a ribbon cutting and opening at 10. So if you have an opportunity, we'd love to see. If not, maybe you can pop in sometime during the day or over the weekend. But just want to make you aware of that.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Would anyone like an item to be pulled?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. CRA projects in progress. We got 3 updates. The Marketing Business Development Project update.
I'm back again. Tracy Smith Coffee, Marketing and Business Development. This is our CRA Marketing and Business Development Project update. As you can see on the screen, this is the Coastal Angler. The magazine reaches, it's a resource for anglers, boaters, and conservatives, and it's the second largest free outdoor publication in the nation. There's 40,000 in circulation per month in Palm Beach, Broward, Dade, and Monroe counties. We also, this ad went into the Marina Life magazine, which is a very popular magazine in the marine industry, and it connects boaters with marinas. So we wanted to feature something for the traveling boater to do while they're traveling through Florida, and we featured the parasailing. And this is a quarter-page ad for this month's quarter. It's a quarterly quarter-page ad. We also did a social media campaign on our projects, and for the month of February, this post reached 12,854 people, and we received 2,263 engagements. And that's defined as either a comment, a share, or a like. This post is another project post that we posted, and if you go to the next one, we also did 2 Twitters and an Instagram. Any questions?
My apologies, we skipped public comments. So if any individual speaker would like to talk, please state your name and address.
Susan Hoyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. Thank you all for noticing your phones as I'm texting you going, you skip public comments. Thank you. So I wanted to say, first of all, Board Member McCray, you've made me laugh all these years, sitting back here trying not to laugh too loudly because you're hilarious. Thank you so much for your service. It's greatly appreciated. And since you're one of my commissioners, thank you. I appreciate you always taking the time to listen to me. Thank you. I wanted to comment on how fast Ocean Breeze East is popping up. It seems like it's only been a week. And oh my gosh, leaps and bounds, it looks like it's almost done. It's amazing. The amount of work they've gotten done in the last week or two is just mind-blowing. And I look forward to Blarney Bash. I hope we're not going to have any problems, and I hope we're going to be able to have it. I'll be working for the Sister Cities booth, so I'll see everybody there. And hopefully CRA is not giving away free beads and killing our beads that we're trying to sell and make money from as a fundraiser. So thank you so much. It happened last year. We sold like half as many beads because CRA was giving them away, which I'm glad CRA is doing that for the people, but it's not good when we're trying to raise money. So thank you.
Woodrow Hay, 427 Northwest 5th Avenue. I just want to speak on behalf of the community and different organizations in District 2 to our Commissioner Mac McCray. You get nothing but compliments, and we want to thank you for your years of service. And I look forward to maybe filling your shoes, at least half of them anyway. But you've done an outstanding job, and we're just going to miss you. You've been able to be in the corner for me when I had issues and questions, and we've been able to talk over issues and what is best for this community. And I just wanted to get up and just tell you thank you for your years of service. We've been going back and forth, and the question was asked one time of why does it keep going but from Hay to McCray, and that's the people's choice. It's a matter of everybody has an opportunity to run, and the people make the call. So I am thankful that they made the call for you this time, and I'm praying for myself that they'll make the call for me in the upcoming election on Tuesday. So God bless you, and I will be talking with you in the future.
Thank you. I want to say to Minister Hay, I want to say thank you for your comments, but I want to say to this board that's sitting up here, a lot of times we feel like it's a thankless job, but people do appreciate what we're doing. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else for public comments? Seeing none. Moving on to 12B CRA Economic and Business Development Grant Program Update.
Good evening, Board. Bonnie Nicklin, Boynton Beach CRA Grant Manager. This month we have two pending businesses that you just approved, leaving us with a remaining balance of $452,000 and $187. And we're excited. I have lots of businesses coming in the pipeline. I look forward to presenting those grants for your approval in the near future. And then also provided are a list of businesses that received their business tax receipts in February 2020.
Is it worth noting, Board Chair, for the members of the public that might not know that the 480 East Ocean Avenue building that the CRA originally initiated that project and has been vacant is now occupied with Andrea Jordan, a wonderful French chef, and it was she's had just a soft opening for 2 nights, and last week I went by and on a Friday after work and it was packed. So for those that don't know, if you like French cuisine, the owner and the chef is world-renowned, written many, over 100 cookbooks. It's quite an affair, and it's really a great treat to have that building filled. And Mr. Lucibella, the owner, just couldn't be happier with the tenant that he picked. Really, it worked out very well.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add to kind of harp on that. So fortunate to have her come and be in the city of Boynton Beach. Last week I did an event with the owner of the Regional, which is one of the newest amazing restaurants, like just killing it in West Palm, and she was just telling me how you know, this is a good friend of hers, and she's so excited she came here in Boynton, and that it worked out at that location, and they've been on, you know, done Top Chef, and they've done all these amazing things. They're all over television. They're all over the world. So to know that our little, you know, 70-something thousand resident city is on the map like this, with people like this doing business in our backyard, it's pretty phenomenal. So we should all be very proud and go see what she's all about.
Yeah, I would also let people know that if you'd like to go, make a reservation ahead of time. It is an old building, and there's only so many few seats, and there is no bar for you to wait at. So
That's right.
So, but the food was delicious, and that one of the things I asked was regarding vegetarian and vegan options, and they said that it was not a problem, that they are welcoming the challenge to make dinner for anybody with any sort of dietary needs.
Awesome.
Okay. Moving on to the Ocean Breeze East Apartment Project update.
Good evening, Board. As we are going to do each month till the project is completed, wanted to provide you with an update with pictures and really just a timeline since our last meeting. You can see that we went from just a simple foundation pad, as you see in this picture, to vertical construction, all within the last 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. So they are just moving along famously, and we're really excited. This is a project that we are continually discussing with developers who are meeting with us and interested in projects within the CRA district, and certainly within the heart of Boynton and the cultural district area. It's fabulous that this is happening, because I think like Town Square, that vertical vision and that change that you can really see, as opposed to just a lot of talk and plans and it's coming. It's really, I think it sends a great message to the investment community and to the community at large. So we'll keep doing this each month and show you the progress. Centennial has been a great, I think, contractor and developer with the city. They are very responsive to issues that come up that obviously sometimes they do are out of control, or just parking or whatever, the fence. They really do want to respond. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, it's just an update on construction.
Yes.
My question is still, where are we providing information for individuals who want to take advantage of the apartments here as they get built?
For anyone interested in learning more about the apartments and how to get one, we are taking names at the CRA office.
So we still haven't figured anything out yet or streamlined anything?
Centennial hasn't provided us with their leasing number or the process in which they're going to be getting, residents from us or from their own process. But we keep asking, and we'll as soon as we have a definitive, we will post it on our website. We'll send it out in social media, and we'll make sure that we have it for the commission.
What's the estimated completion date for the project?
The estimated completion date is at the end of this 2020, so January of 2021 and December 22.
Okay,
20.
so I would like, if the board would consent, to ask Centennial to bring us some type of report back of what they've done with their other complexes. I know they do this all over, because I'm getting a little weary where I've gotten lots of phone calls, lots of messages from individuals, and we're about, 9 months out or so, and still haven't gotten anything. And I know it's going to be, an ordeal once this building is really up and running. People want to get information, so I would like to hear from them what their process is. At least that way we know how to prepare, and we know how to also help them, and it doesn't become chaos as we near opening day, especially for the residents who live here in Boynton Beach. I want to make sure that they're getting their fair share at these apartments, and it doesn't feel as if this is built, but then it's outside people that get to take advantage of it. I want to make sure we prevent that, so I'd like to have a plan, please.
Very good.
Yes, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'd just like to give a kudos out to Teresa Utterbank. And the reason I'm doing this was that one of our residents in Boynton who own property to the north of this construction They had cement trucks and everything else parking on her property, which she did not give permission. And Teresa took it upon herself to meet with her and to make sure that this was curtailed and that the people that's in charge of construction now know that they're not supposed to park on this private property. The second thing is that I'm concerned, and the reason I'm concerned is the bus stops that surround this property. We have an elementary bus stop early in the morning. This morning, the children, before they got on the bus, was playing on the fence. Kids will be kids. We don't want to be sued. Okay, on 7th Avenue Northeast, the middle school kids, where they picked them up at loading, this is also next to where they're doing the construction. And I'm just saying somebody need to contact Palm Beach County School Board and let them know that they need to move these bus stops. I'm just saying, you know, it's our children lives that's being endangered. And we like to, you know, before something happens, we don't like to get any bad news while we're having all good news. Thank you.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, item A, consideration of fiscal year 2018-19 budget amendment for unreserved fund balance and self-funded insurance reserve.
Good evening, Board. Vicki Hill, Finance Director. This item was tabled last month.
So motion to remove from the table.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. What we have from the audit from 18-19 was $411,000 that we would like to give to the board to reallocate. Alongside that, we have other funds, other surplus funds that we had to give to you to reallocate, along with monies from the project fund from projects that came under budget, and we would like to also give you that money to reallocate, which ends up being $1.4 million. And there is Jabara on the spreadsheet there, and there are some things that we would like to, there's only one thing, I'm sorry, that I would like to, that staff would like you to, that we would like to recommend. That's $500,000 to go towards Pete's Pond and the marina.
Go towards what now?
We have, Mike.
Yes, the city is working on a project within the Pete's Pond and Marina District area to increase the number of parking spaces on East Boynton Beach Boulevard from Federal Highway to the waterfront there, which I think is desperately needed. We're going to turn maybe 10 spaces into about 22 spaces. The landscape beds there are raised, and the city is constantly being approached by attorneys for damage to vehicles because the elevation of the planter boxes and the concrete was kind of an attractive idea visually, but it's a bad idea where it's located next to the parallel parking spots. There's an awful lot of overgrowth there, of overplanting, so we're going to remove some of those trees. There's going to be new lighting and emergency button stations like we have at Sarah Sims. And this is a project that's slated to be about $1.1 million to $1.2 million, and the city's approached the CRA in asking for a partnership or a funding partnership with them on this project, and it is absolutely within our statutory outline to be able to do that, and the impact to the businesses there, I think, is going to be felt. There's a new business opening at Casa Costa that's you've approved this evening, I believe, which is the Bond and Smolders second location facing Pete's Pond. So again, these parking spaces are not overnight. They're not intended to be resident spaces. They're business spaces. So if you so choose to allocate some funding for that, that's their request. And that's the only request we received from the city with regard to a project to help them to join with.
Yes, we had Board Member Pensurga.
I support this request by the city, but before I make my vote on that, could you tell me what the security camera situation is in this area? Do we have security cameras?
The CRA on our marina slips, and at the Harbor Master building, which if you could zoom in, it's the Harbor Master building is next to the two Georges, and our marina slips are on Casa Loma Boulevard. So we have security cameras that are in the area of our property. We don't have cameras on Boynton Beach Boulevard Extension or around Pete's Pond. I can find out for you and email you if security cameras are going to be part of the city's project. I know for a fact that their emergency stations will be, well, I believe do have a small camera on them facing down toward the person using it, but I don't, because of the proximity to Casa Costa and the property there, I don't know where the city has decided to do the camera, but I'll find out for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Board Member Ramos?
Yes, so my question is to staff, but I think it's also to a few members who are sitting in the audience that are board members within Casa Costa. And I know that there have been several issues over the years. Are these improvements that we're planning, will they be a resolution to these issues? Is that what they're intended to be?
Yes, it is, absolutely. A very good point for raising publicly. Andrew Mack and his staff have been working for the last 9 or 10 months on the design with the residents of Casa Costa and their board. I've met with them alongside of Andrew, so I know that he's been keeping them posted, and they've been walking through this process together. So this is the project all the way from the entrance on the north side of Pete's Pond, where the old entrance to Mangrove Park was, and then all the way around on the east side of Casa Costa down to Boynton Beach Boulevard, and all the way out to the promenade, which is right there, the walkway that leads to the overlook and at the Intercoastal. So the roundabout and the north side of East Boynton Beach Boulevard will all be redone with parking and landscaping and lighting, and then additional lighting and landscaping improvements and electrical improvements down the promenade walkway toward the Intercoastal. So it is all encompassing of that area, not just kind of the Pete's Pond or not just behind Casa Costa. It really extends, which I think makes it, again, very justifiable for us. If you just choose to assist them, it's certainly justifiable for us to fund.
Yes, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm in favor of this project. I'm just saying I'm in favor, at least we got the money to do it. I'm just saying, and my take is that, Vicki, and I'm going to go ahead and give you your accolades. I'm just saying, you said that this is your recommendation, and I'm just saying, you don't have to be scared to say what y'all recommend to us. I'm just saying, I bite, but I'm leaving. The rest of them might chew. But anyway, this is fantastic. But the reason I'm saying all of this is to say that, we got the money, and this is what the individuals at Costa Coastal, they've been wanting, and this is an improvement, and we found the funds. And Michael, I want to ask you, you said that we've been inundated with attorneys saying that, we have to pay this. Is the CRA paying the attorney bill, or?
No, it's as with any location the city owns, sidewalks that might be damaged or liability type of items within the structure of the city. This is one of those places where over the years, and this goes back to Art Brody and in our old office in 2000, once it was completed in 2006 and 2007, really right from the start, that kind of the parking and the raised landscape beds just kind of started to present a problem, and trucks would hit them. And we've spent a lot of money over the years repairing those beds. We aren't privy to how many calls and letters the city receives, but I know in speaking with Lori and city staff that getting this changed out will be a really big help to them. And additional, they're going to be angled parking spaces, not parallel, so we can get even more in, and they're going to be spaced out much better. So all in all, I think it's going to help the city. The city owns the property and he owns the site now, so I think that this will help them operate it and manage it much better.
I thank you for clearing that up, because I was
Yes,
just
sir.
saying, I wanted to know, are we spending money that we don't know about? But anyway, thank
No,
you.
sir.
I'm just saying, you answered my
course.
question. I'm in favor of it.
Vice Chair, do you have any comments? All right. One of the things that I'd also like to do is that part of this project is the renaming of Pete's Pond. I heard that it was named after one of the former employees, and I'd like to give it more of a Boynton Beach name to that, especially if we're putting $500,000 into it. And the other aspect of it is that this is just the area east of Federal Highway.
It's the area east of Federal Highway, really from Casa Costa back. There's no place to put on-street parking or improvements to the south side of the Casa Costa building. So it really from, I think that's 5th of the north-south road between the Ocean One project site and the First Financial Plaza, from there east, if that answers your question.
Okay. And then my only other concern is that, we lost the Mangrove Park, and we had, the city lost the boardwalk there. I know from speaking with the diocese is that they don't necessarily want the boardwalk there.
Yes.
So if we could work out an agreement to, as part of the improvements, remove that and have that boardwalk, which the aluminum frame is pretty good. It's just the supports that need to be redone.
Yes, sir. Thank you for mentioning that as well. The Colin Groff, the Assistant City Manager for the City of Boynton Beach, who is working with the diocese and city staff on this project, because Mangrove Park entrance is closed now and the bathrooms and such, one of the ideas, and I think one of the reasons this project is occurring, is to kind of create some access to the mangrove area from the promenade. So from the south side, there is discussion to have the aluminum boardwalk relocated and perhaps somehow tied into the outlook that exists within the city side off the diocese. But I think that permitting and the plan to do the work in the mangrove is a longer process because of the permitting with Florida Inland Navigational District and South Florida Water Management and others. So the project that we're working on now is really kind of set to start here in the next, I guess, 90 to 180 days. The mangrove boardwalk disassembly and reassembly is something that the city staff is definitely throwing around, but I will mention that to them, and maybe they can provide an update to the city commission at one of their meetings.
All right. Thank you.
Along with the naming, because of the city property.
Yep.
I'll mention that to them as well.
Right. Chair, before we move
Yeah.
on, somebody clarify this for me. It's not like we're saying piece upon a piece upon. What are we really saying?
It's Pete's.
Pete. Oh, Pete.
Pete's.
Oh, Pete's Pond.
Pete's
oh,
Pond.
I'm like, it sound like pizza. I'm like saying a pizza pond.
Pond.
I'm the oldest up in my hearing is the first to go. Okay, Pete's
right.
Pond.
And-
Thank you.
And for those board members that weren't here at the time, the CRA is responsible for funding the improvements that you see on East Boynton Beach Boulevard from Federal Highway all the way to the promenade. That was one of the first bond that we are paying for now and still paying the interest on, or the payments for. It was a $10 million bond, and that road was constructed to accommodate both Marina Village and Casa Costa's development. So again, this is a nice, CRA has invested quite a bit of money over the years into the marina, and this is just one more opportunity to keep it, I guess, progressing in time and better for the public.
All right, I see we have public comment. I'll ask the board, do we want to wait before we finish allocating the money to open it up to the public, or do we want to, for each item? Yes.
I'm in favor, since they're standing, go ahead and let them speak. I'm just in on this one. Then then probably the rest we can just go ahead and finish, because it'll probably be just between us.
Okay. Yes.
Just had a clarification question on what you mentioned with renaming the location. Is that like a naming rights thing, or is that we would open it up to the public and ask for input? How would that even work? If
I would,
renaming it.
since it's the city's pond, I'd see what they would want to do. But it's a request, it's not a demand.
I know, I'm just curious how we would carry that out in terms of the renaming.
I'd let the marketing department figure that out.
Okay.
Could be called Centennial Pond. Who knows?
All right.
Yes, we'll now open it up to the public regarding this item.
Hi, Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way, and that's exactly what I was going to speak to. I'm sure Board Member McCray possibly remembers this. Originally, when they made this pond, it was supposed to be named after my grandmother, Lillian Frederica Oyer, and at the time, my dad said, no, I don't want a retention pond named after the family, and he kind of poo-pooed the idea, not knowing that it was going to turn into this lovely thing. So please, just as a point of information, because I know so many of you are not from here, or this is long before your time of being here, it was originally projected to be Lillian Frederica Oyer Pond, or something to that effect. And just in case if you want to know any more information about my grandmother, feel free to ask at any point. I don't know if maybe it's better to name it after her mother, Lillian, who's actually the first white girl born in all of Southeast Florida, who also helped, start Boynton Beach and Hypoluxo, or, what information you may want, but please keep that in the back of your mind. It already had a projected name. When my dad turned it down is when they put it out and named it after that city employee. So thank you so much.
Woodrow Hay, 427 Northwest 5th Avenue. I have nothing against the Peace Pond idea, but I just wanted to put a few more ideas on the table for your consideration. I'm pretty sure that you will be doing maybe some facade grants to old businesses that needs to be fixed up a little bit. That will be something that I would love to see you consider, granting some funds for those places to be fixed up. The other thing is that traveling on Federal Highway from the north entrance and the south entrance, as I stated before on numerous occasions, is somewhat depressing. I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of do something to light it up, freshen it up, facelift it, do something that would improve the look on US 1 coming from the north and coming from the south, especially traveling from Boca Del Rey area. And when I get to Boynton, it's like a drop. So we need to really think about what is it that we can do with these funds that's available to fix it up, to spruce it up a little bit. I'd love for you to consider that. And lastly, we've had several activities in Sarah Sims Park at the Amphitheater. For example, the MLK celebration. I got many complaints about people who couldn't see the people who were on the stage, especially those who were sitting in the chairs. I recall Sister Martha Meets Light sitting down and giving the history. People couldn't see her because she had to sit. I just feel that and I remember the Bangladesh celebration. My understanding that we allowed them to build their own stage, and they brought that in. And God forbid that someone fall off of that thing and get hurt, then there could be a liability there for us. I don't know, but I know they signed papers and all that. But the point is that I don't like the idea of people coming in with their own stage. I guess the bottom line of what I'm trying to say is consider, okay, putting a 4-foot stage on that amphitheater. I think that would go a long way in improving the relationship with the city and the citizen of Boynton Beach. This is something that was a hot potato some time back when we originally put it there. I know, I was here, I heard the stories. But here we have some funds available. And I don't know what the cost is, but I think it would be a good gesture to consider putting a stage there. And I just think that we sort of owe it to ourselves and to the citizen to do that, so that we don't have to worry about people bringing their own stages and doing an inadequate job of putting it together, and an accident happens. If you got a concrete or whatever you put floor there, it's done. And we don't have to worry about that in the future as a possible liability situation. So those are just some ideas I'd like for you to consider with the funds that's available. And thank you for listening.
Yvonne Scovron, 350 North Federal Highway, apartment 1405, Boynton Beach. I'd like to say thank you very much for this consideration of the funds for Pete's Pond, east of Casa Costa. I live in Casa Costa. I've been working with the city for over 5 years for them to consider putting some money in. And it's not just the beautification, it's a safety thing. The police chief is here, so I'd like to say thank you for kind of tidying up the streets. We don't get as many homeless people, but I think between Casa Costa and Marina Village, we must be over 1,000 residents of Boynton Beach. We are a focal point as you get off 95. And unfortunately, when you have that aerial view, for some of the commissioners that don't know the area so well, or even the people in the audience, it looks great from an aerial view. But when you're physically there, it's a mess. It's not kept well, it's not safe. I mean, we've had to cut things down. I have some supporters here from my community, and I really do feel it's money well spent. I'm hoping that the city and the city managers here is going to make up the difference, that we're not, I've seen the project, I believe it's over $1 million. I hope we're not going to be skipping and saying, okay, we'll do it piecemeal. Please do it now. Please do the complete project. It's not only going to help residents in the local, it's going to bring in residents. It's a beautiful place. It's going to help businesses. Let's just finish that part of East Boynton Beach and make it look amazing. I'm so proud of how the city has grown, and I appreciate every one of you of what you're doing, because I sit there on my board and it is a thankless job sometimes, so thank you. But let's finish this, let's get it right, let's make it so proud, beautiful, and let's put every dollar we can into it to finish the project, and don't do it piecemeal. So I thank you very much.
Yes, Board Member Romulus.
I was just going to tell Yvonne, if it doesn't work out for you in real estate, you should always definitely consider motivational speaking.
All right. Thank you. Vicki, do we have any more recommendations?
If we can safely put the 500,000 under the budget amendment number 1.
Yep.
Right there, Jabbar. Any other recommendations? I know that we are purchasing property 209 and 217 that we will need funds to close on. But ultimately, we can always budget that in the next budget year if you want to do things now.
So I think, was it the 207, the one on the south property we're going to buy?
209?
209.
209?
Yes, sir.
And so 209, are we plan on buying that this fiscal year?
No, sir, that will be in October. We've already put the down payment down.
Okay, so, but it's the beginning of next fiscal,
year, yes.
where we may not have the TIF funding coming in because it's due November. So I'd like to put it, some funds under your recommendation, how much funds we need so that we can purchase 209 North Seacrest. But I know that the 217 we're not purchasing for another 2 to 3 years.
Correct. I believe that's 2022, 2023. We need approximately 1.3 to close
Okay.
on that. And we do have some funds already, about 400,000. How much do we have over there in property acquisition?
In acquisition, there's 391,898.
And then we have some funds that we held for future redevelopment projects, which is about 368,000. So that's roughly 600, so maybe about 400 or so.
Yes, Board Member
400 on
McCray.
top of this.
Right. It won't close until October 2020, which is in the next budget year.
So that, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to ask this question to Michael because I'm just saying, you know, the amphitheater, how much money did we say it would cost to put that theater out there, that concrete stage? It was less than 20,000
I
city.
think that the city, with the numbers that, if I remember it from the meeting that Colin mentioned, were somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000, I believe, to find ways to raise that up.
I believe we were given ranks of.
Oh, and how, yes, on how
Yeah,
they wanted to
depending
do
on
it.
what we want to do or how extensive we want to make it, it
That's
will
correct.
cost this much. So I would like to request that information back.
Okay.
Before we talk more on this, because I think that will help guide the conversation so we know where to go. And that is exactly what I was going to ask for, Board Member McCray. I wanted to get that information so we could make some decisions based
Y'all
on
keep the
that.
ball rolling because I'm rolling off. Okay.
Oh, yes.
For the board, the funding that is in your project fund line items. So, for instance, the funding for future redevelopment projects line item, acquisition, any of these line items within the project fund can be moved during the fiscal year without a budget amendment resolution required because you're not transferring money between funds, the general fund, for instance, and the project fund. So if there was consensus on how to allocate this, let's say there's $927,851 left over, and you wanted to take a suggestion from the public or your own and investigate it further, and you still have the opportunity all the way through the rest of this year to allocate funding for any project that you so desire. So it wouldn't necessarily have to stop the allocation of the funding that we have now that's for purposes of financial management. It's kind of open-ended and just kind of sitting there. It would be nice to get it into a project line item, even if it has to be reallocated, later. But we don't want to go too many meetings, I think, from a financial reporting standpoint of just kind of having it sitting in unassigned fund balance.
All right. Board Member McCray.
Thank you. Well, right now, my take is that we can move funds anytime we get ready. My take is that, since I'm going to be leaving, I like for us really not to do anything tonight except those $500,000 and let whoever else is coming up here and be responsible, let them start saying how they want those funds allocated. You can wait one more meeting. This is the way I am feeling, because I want to make sure that whoever's going to be taking this seat, that they will have a clear shot at saying, this is what I want to do. I'm just saying there's no urgency because we can always move funds, but I'm in favor of doing those $500,000 tonight.
Okay. Vice Chair.
Yeah, I support the Peach Pond, renovations just because it's been pegged as a safety issue and we do desperately need more parking, public parking down there, so it serves a dual purpose. I'd also support what the chair stated about trying to use some of these funds to assist with the closing on 209 Seacrest, just because we're going to have to pay for it next year. And if we chip away at some of the costs this year, that means there's more money next year, and we're almost towards the back end of this fiscal year, and this money hasn't been spent. So it's not free money, but it's kind of found money, and we can put it towards freeing up money next year when we have a clearer picture of new things that are happening as a result of the growth, whether it's in Town Square or Ocean Breeze East area and the MLK project. So I wouldn't mind chipping away at the down payment on 209, to free up money in next year's budget, which also would mirror some of the Board Member McCray's comments that it would free up money for the next commissioner/board member. When they get up here, there will be more funds available next year when they're in their term.
So, Vicki, we could just move the, let's say you said another $300,000 into property acquisition and the remainder into funding for future redevelopment projects.
That would be great.
All right. May I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
What would you like to say?
I just want to make sure that we're adding it what I mentioned earlier about the stage and bringing back that information as a future agenda item so that we can discuss that and have a more detailed information to base off of this information.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the amphitheater information. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Thank you.
And also, I'd like to add the fact of the comments regarding the sprucing up of Federal Highway to see if we can't get shade trees or other types of enhanced landscaping in the city's parks or other areas in the CRA with increased tree canopy. Board Member McCray.
Thank you. That last figure in that last column, is that $7 million? Because I don't have my glasses on.
Yes.
That's just the total of
There's
those
stuff
that you
above it.
see.
Okay.
That's not our complete budget. That's just the total of what you see.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like saying, okay, it wasn't jiving up. I'm just saying, okay.
Also with this board agenda item, we need to approve the resolution 2001, that is the self-insurance funds. The 20% that we saved, you don't see it here. It's on your board agenda item, but it's about $200,000, dollars that we save for the self-insurance.
So is there that 927,000?
The 200 is already taken off of there. It was actually over $1 million. For the self-insurance fund, we took out 200,000, and that's where you get the $885,936 from the general fund.
Got it.
And we're going to move those to the project.
So is that part of this item?
Yes, sir.
All right,
I
so
just
we'll do a separate motion on that resolution.
It's a motion to approve the allocation, the 20% allocation for the self-fund insurance reserve.
We haven't finished the first
That
mortgage.
isn't clear yet.
Is there any other discussion regarding the funds going 500 to the Boynton Beach Boulevard east of Federal, the additional 300 to property acquisition, and the remainder to the funding for future redevelopment projects is the motion that is seconded. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Vice Chair.
Just one last question for staff. Has there been any dialogue or new information relative to the potential acquisition of the Bell's property within the MLK project?
We had a conversation with them recently between meetings, and at the time of the discussion, they had expressed to us that they were not in a position of wanting to do anything sales-wise or improvement-wise at this point. So we will continue to talk with them on a regular basis. We've developed a good rapport with Octavia Bell, and we keep in contact and provided them information on opportunity zones and some other things to help the project. So I think once we know more about the Centennial funding, it'll either be a postponement of activity or an increased level. So, but thank you for asking that. We will keep in touch with them on a regular basis.
Thank you.
All right. So now I need a motion for the resolution as mentioned by our Finance Director.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the consideration discussion of terms for an RFP, RFQ, and letters of interest for the operation and management of the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach.
Yes, yes, Board. This item was brought back to you at your request to.
Can you give us a rundown of what has occurred? And so, like, the Women's Club has their certificate of occupancy, or they never lost it, and where do we go from there after we finalize the construction of it?
Twee Shut, for the record. This item is before you regarding the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach, which the CRA had purchased back in late fall of 2017. Since then, we've had major renovation done to secure and waterproof the building, specific with the roof and then the walls, and then lastly, the painting and the window work. Now that we've completed that work, we are now ready to open up for rentals again. And the board had asked for staff to take a look at several parameters with respect to whether or not we would need assistance in securing an entity to help us operate and maintain the building. This was discussed late last year. We also have recently had an interest from the city to use this building partly for some activities with that coincide with the senior center across the street on the west side of US 1. Also to also operate some kind of a civic use, a museum of some sort, to have it on a regular basis. With that, we also have had several interested parties, one being the museum, for the surfing museum, that was interested in coming in and having a permanent home there to run their museum out of it. As far as the update to that, there are some statutory changes in the CRA regulations that does not allow, the funding, CRA funding, to be used for towards nonprofits. With that, the update now is that staff has brought to the board several parameters if the board chooses to have an RFP, request for proposal, out for an entity that will operate and maintain the building. The bullet items you see up at the screen are the points that the board should be considering to direct staff if we are going to write an RFQ or RFP. Secondly, if the board chooses to have the city present to the board as to how they would proceed in operating and running the facility with some CRA help in funding and the maintenance, that is something the board could consider as well. The city is not prepared to do a presentation this month, but they will be prepared next month from what we heard from Mr. Colin Groff and staff. So staff is here for direction and any input the city, the CRA board may have.
All right.
Within.
I'd like to begin in saying that, we should table this item and wait for that item from the city, because, this is something that the CRA and the city work together quite closely, and figuring out what is the best for the city and the CRA moving forward. The issue that I have regarding it as used as a senior center is that within the CRA's mission. So that's something that we're going to have legal also look into for us, because we need to have a definition if the CRA building can be used as a social function building, or if it cannot be used that, then do we have to sell that to the city?
And I just want to add, whoever runs and operate the building, it's all really dependent on the ability to park for these events as well. And so the city having the parking, excess parking that's not used after hours, and it would be helpful for the city and or the CRA to have at least some agreement to make sure that whatever event goes on there, and staff can be working on it with the city as well. But you are right, if there is going to be a civic use or a use that is going to be such as a museum use, that is something that the board will probably need to consider, because within our statutory requirement, that's something that would be more in line with the city's duties, especially.
So, Catherine, you have comments as well?
I was just going to say, if you would like for legal to prepare a memorandum to go with the city's presentation next month, we'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, I believe we need that. Vice Chair, then Board Member McCray.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on the same page that I wouldn't want to personally make any decisions on a path forward without hearing the city's proposition first, and also obviously some legal interpretation on that possibility.
And Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm on the same page, but I need to ask Twee again. What did you say again about housing a non-profit organization? Say that again. Statutory limitations.
Yeah, the CRA statute doesn't really allow us.
Microphone.
The statutory limitation is really with respect to the funding of nonprofit organizations for generally their overhead or any of their administrative costs. So if we were to have somebody such as a museum, the Surfing Museum, which is a nonprofit, to operate for a fee, that's one thing. However, that's still under the city's zoning rules as a civic use, and that would also kick in the requirement for parking and all the other accessory things that comes along with it. But typically, when you do allow a nonprofit in there, at a reduced rate or free of charge, there would be something that is not typically what the CRA statute allows us to do, because you're really funding them, their overhead, their facility, et cetera, et cetera.
For example, our marina, we get enough money from the gas sales and the boat slips
Fee for the slip.
so that we are paying a for-profit third-party vendor to run the marina.
It's a commercial venture. We're able to do that to promote the marina, to stimulate the economy and help the marine industry. That's the difference between owning.
So that's the difference is that, you know, if it is a civic use or, you know, an event space, you know, there's for-profit businesses that could use that as that function. However, it has somewhat limited to the public. And so I think what this board has to decide is how open or closed we make this to a building available to the public. When we were just owning it and running it, you know, we were using it as event space at a reasonable rate. And, you know, if we hire a third party, what does that mean regarding their business and any of the other surrounding businesses? You know, we have certain restaurants that could cater and certain businesses. Was it the Ferris one on Federal Highway that does all the design for a wedding? So it's something that we want to consider to make sure that our businesses in the CRA are able to use this facility as well. So I'll entertain a motion to table to get a memorandum from legal and to give the city a deadline of the next CRA meeting to have a proposal for us before we move ahead with an RFP.
Motion to table until the next meeting.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Discussion of the CRA-owned property located at 115 North Federal Highway.
Yes, again, TWE shut for the record. As you recalled last month, the board had tabled this item, not last month, I'm sorry, 2 months ago, had tabled this item so that staff can meet with the officials at the building and fire departments to see the estimated cost to renovate this.
Excuse me, I'm going to stop you because you said if we table this, I'm trying to find out why on the old business it wasn't marked as table.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's my mistake. Originally, the board was considering to execute an interlocal agreement with the Solid Waste Authority for some grant funding to demolish the 115 North Federal Highway building. At the end of the meeting, the board felt that there is some time to decide whether or not we ask for allocation to a separate project or to move forward with the ILA. The board chose to move forward with the ILA, but the board directed us to go and seek assistance to get an estimate how much it's going to cost to renovate the building for a new use. And so that item is before you. So my apologies, I forgot. It is, it's not a table, it's an actual update.
Correct. It is an update from last of the ILA with the
Yes,
Solid Waste
January,
Authority.
yes.
And you mentioned that we have until June or July to make a decision.
Yes, the grant schedule allows us to have until June because we knew that the city was occupying it as a temporary library, and really the demolition activity that I had put in the grant application won't start till August. So the board felt that between then and June we could actually have some more information for the board to make a sound decision on whether or not to renovate the building or basically prepare it for redevelopment. And that's what this site was originally purchased to redevelop.
And my last question, I know that it is March now, and the United Congregation Church, are they still?
They've vacated the building. We've done the inspections, and they've done what they needed to vacate the building.
All right, thank you. Yes, Board Member Pincirga.
Have any parties come forward showing interest in redeveloping this space?
Yes, board member, there have been several developers throughout the last 9 to 12 months that have shown interest in the site from the perspective of possible redevelopment opportunities and projects.
About how many?
6 or 7, I would say.
Got it.
Board Member McCray, thank you.
Okay, since somebody came forward, what was they looking to redevelopment this property as?
Well, the CRA plan represents a mixed-use project to be considered by the CRA or a developing entity. So if it were, now that it's in the CRA hands, we can direct that development to include, extra parking or units of different sizes or different counts, different retail. But ultimately, the developer is looking at this site to do a mixed-use project. It's the highest density and the highest height allowed within the core, similar to the 500 Ocean project or Casa Costa, Marina Village. All those do have a max density of 80 units an acre. With affordable housing as a component, it could go to 100 units an acre and a max height of 150 feet. But as of now, that max height is probably a little cost prohibitive. But the point is that the site itself and the zoning and the land use underneath is asking for the biggest and best project that could be developed there. It's looking to utilize the full aspect of those things. So we'd like to see a mixed-use project with additional retail, perhaps working with neighboring property owners to expand the footprint if that's possible. But the intent, as we've talked about before, was not just to buy the property and tear down the building and make it, more parking. That it's always been the redevelopment, future redevelopment of the site. And it just so happened to work out well for the city and provided them a temporary location for the library during Town Square.
Right, I don't mind doing that, and y'all can continue, but I'm just saying, we have the property, that's the old bank building that's still just sitting over there, and I'm just saying, I don't like to keep saying, we got property, and then nobody's doing anything with that, and then we hopping on something else and nothing's moving, but, hopefully y'all are on the right path, and I'm gonna trust y'all judgment,
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, I'd be interested in moving forward with the demolition, utilizing the grant money just so that we can quickly put together or have a discussion up here that predicates a request for RFP or RFQ, whatever it'll ultimately be. It's prime real estate. We're under the expectation that the property across Federal will be sold and hopefully redeveloped in 1 year's time. That process will begin if that property owner delivers on his agreement to sell it. I think it's a prime piece of real estate. We want to get it presentable and start pitching it. And whether the building stays or goes in the short term, it will have to go. And as we discussed in a past meeting, I would personally be remiss to put anybody in there, a tenant, because then that creates another obstacle to moving the property and kind of advertising it as ready to go. So I would just be in favor of utilizing the grants that you successfully obtained to get it ready to show, move forward on.
My main concern is the other properties within the block. It's kind of like it's not necessarily the same situation that we had on Martin Luther King, where you had 6 vacant lots in between the CRA's property. You have 4 active businesses there, and in order for us to put together a proposal for a developer, we need to look at the other 4 owners to see if they're willing to sell, what their price that they're willing to sell. It was I understand that the reason why the library could open is because it was on a temporary basis and that it was never supposed to be full, for more than the time that it is. So it's sad that we're losing a building and we're putting up a parking lot because the function is that there really isn't enough office space in the downtown area. You have First Financial Plaza, which consists of condos, but there's no Class A office space in downtown. And so I think that's something that the CRA board should look for, not necessarily putting a developer for more residential units. And that's something that we need to focus on. So I'd like to move ahead with the demolition and to direct staff to speak with the property owners, adjacent property owners, to see if we can get, similar to the situation on Seacrest, the right to buy these properties, whether they're current or not, and see what they're asking for. And that way, when we develop, when we can develop this project, the future aspect of this is that we know that Boca Raton's getting a Bright Line station. I don't think that Boynton Beach is going to get one. However, that doesn't mean that the Coastal Tri-Rail isn't coming through in the next decade or two. And so that's something that we have to realize is that, putting a parking garage here is something that's going to be very valuable. So I hope that this board doesn't, feel like we're in a rush to sell this, because you only have one opportunity, I think, at getting a train station here in our downtown, which is supposed to be our center of our transit-oriented district.
And Board Chair, we could consider also, when we do the RFP, to include the Class A office, or a certain percentage. We'll bring that back, I'm sure, in a later date for you, for your consideration as well, if you feel that's appropriate.
Okay, yes, Vice Chair.
Yeah, and I'm on the same page, I believe, with you, Chair. The main reason that I supported purchasing this property when it came up was so we would have the reins of this horse, and it wouldn't just be let some private developer buy it and then come and ask us for a couple $1 million of incentives. We bought the property, so we have a couple $1 million of ask to demand of somebody who acquires this property for a purpose that we define. So the parking lot, obviously respective to the potential train station, is something that's been tossed around. Public parking in general, is never a bad thing to consider given the growth. And then obviously we could basically buy whatever we want as a result of the value of the land, because it's not just the church. It's the adjacent properties that the CRA's owned for some time. So we've got a couple $1 million of demands that we could give in there, depending on the deal that we ultimately strike. So I'm on board with the chair that we can take our time to deliberate on the demands of a potential future property owner that acquires it in exchange for a discount on the property or the property and so forth.
Board Member Romulus.
I would concur with that, and of course, always just keeping at the forefront about affordable housing. I would make sure, as we, contemplate this, we would, make sure that one of our asks, as the Vice Chair has mentioned, would be that whatever developer comes in, they would create a mixed development or a mixed income sort of product that would allow for a multiple range of individuals to be able to live in this area, especially since if you look at the surrounding area, there's already a huge deficit in terms of access for affordability in this area. So, and it's only going to get worse as more development occurs. So, being that we do have the ownership to this property, we are in a position to make more asks than other situations. So I would ask that this board also make sure that that is something that we keep at the forefront of our minds when we talk about affordability and the crisis that we face all over Palm Beach County, that would be one of our asks as we redevelop this property.
Okay. So we already have the motion with the ILA that we signed. And I'll remind everyone to turn off their phones or to silence them. So there's nothing need for this item. Am I correct?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
We have our direction. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item 14D, consideration and discussion of the property inspection for the purchase and sale agreement associated with 209 North Seacrest Boulevard.
It must be my night. That's right. Twee shut for the record. Again, this item was brought to the board because we have entered into a contract with the 209 North Seacrest Boulevard building, and it was the requirement for the board, the direction for the board for staff to bring back again the costs to retrofit in whole or in part, the building for a use, a new use, such as an office use. And the cost, again, is pretty costly. It's at about $300 a square foot to retrofit it, partly because it's a two-story building, and the second floor was a residential unit. So in order to convert that for office use and upgrade everything to code requirement, it would be over about $2 million. Just want to note that this purchase and sale agreement, or this purchase and development agreement, has a due diligence period that will end this week. So there's a 60-day due diligence period. With board direction, the only thing that we could recourse on that is to bring it back to the owner, Mr. Weiner, and to renegotiate the price. There isn't anything in that agreement that has vaguely a cap or any obligation for the owner to consider the reduction of price due to any kind of renovation needs. The board does have a chance to go back and either renegotiate or walk away, basically.
If I could add on to that, he would be under no obligation to accept any renegotiation, so the board should direct what to do in the event that he does not wish to renegotiate the price as well.
Right. So if we say we don't want to, or he doesn't accept our renegotiation, we can get our $100,000 deposit back. However, that's not really in the interest. It was kind of more of an informational item to see what we could do with the building in the meantime while downtown was being built, while we wait another 2 years. The aspect of it is that I know that we looked at the entire building, but we didn't look at there serves as almost 3 different offices, where you have the police department in one of them, you have the utility, and then you have E2L. And so one of the things I did speak with Colin Groff is that the utility area is something that is reasonably to be repaired, not just the 2-story part, but the 1-story part. And were you able to bifurcate that with the cost?
At the $300 a square foot, there could be a maximum of, if you're doing 1,000 square feet, I don't know approximately how big that portion is because it's portioned off, but let's say if it's 1,000, we could try to go and see what else needs to be done. I know there were some plumbing issues from the first floor that went down to the second floor. There's some
but that's not where I'm discussing, because there's the 2 different entrances.
It's the single-story portion, and
right.
I would
that's
say
where the leak went to. So we can take a look at exactly what the fix was and how much it'll cost to just retrofit that smaller area where the utility customer service area.
The aspect what I'd like to ask the board is that we continue with the purchase, and that we find out what we can do, or the costs associated with fixing the 1-story portion of the building to be a kind of an incubator or a co-working space for the community, and find out those costs. Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm glad you said to be an incubator space for the community, because I kept saying it here, and I said, I know he's not sitting over there thinking that we're going to keep people going in there to pay their water bill and stuff like that and all. So you clarified what you were saying, so I'm okay with it.
All right.
We'll continue through.
And so we understand that the first floor and second floor part of the building with the residential aspect is not going to be a good use of the CRA funds, but we'll see if the police department or E2L still needs to use it past October. That's another aspect where we would need them to sign a lease and go from there.
the most important decision this evening is, do you want to move forward with the contract during your feasibility period? After that, we'll have a lot of time to put together programming and costs and what have you. So
I think we start with cost, then we'll deal with programming afterwards.
Sure.
And so, do you need a motion to continue, or do we would need a motion to?
No, if you're not making any changes and the board is aware that it will expire at the end of the week, then you're good to go.
All right, so I don't think we're going to have any motions, and we'll look forward to purchasing it in October.
Very good. Thank you, Board.
All right. Moving on to the consideration of approval of Boynton Village LLC, aka the Preserve Performance Audit for year ending December 31st, 2019 for compliance with the Direct Incentive Funding Agreement.
Good evening again, Board. Vicki Hill, Finance Director. Boynton Village LLC, this is their 5th year coming before us asking for their direct incentive agreement, the funding for the agreement, and we are looking for board approval. They came in with everything that they were supposed to come with. They're in compliance for 2019 tax year. And we are asking the board to approve $81,861. $74,064 stays with the CRA.
All right, and did they give the update regarding how much of it was still condo versus being, or owner occupied versus being a rental? Is
Yes,
this the
yes,
same?
sir. Yes, sir, they did.
And can you give me that information, what the numbers were?
I believe it was 105. 105. They had 100% rental and 5 ownership. Let me get back with you. I have it. It's in the backup.
Okay,
It's in the backup, but I will make sure I get you that information. I apologize.
okay. And so is it still considered a condominium, or is it now, did it go to an apartment conversion?
It is still an apartment, and Vicki was right. There are 5 owner-occupied units, and there are 100 affordable rental units. So all of the units that are applied to their direct incentive funding agreement are affordable access units.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a motion
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration of the First Amendment to fund the Increasing the Quality of Life program at Habitat for Humanity International.
Yes, Tweeshup for the record. This is the request from Habitat with their nonprofit grant program that was dedicated for affordable and workforce housing. The board granted them $75,000 to support that program, the Increasing Quality of Life program, which consists of building 3 new units and 3 rehab units, as well as home ownership, home building classes, workshops, and leveraging volunteers. They are requesting a 6-month extension to their grant agreement. Their grant agreement requires that they complete the new units by March, the end of March, and have their reporting by April 15th of this year. They have stated in attachment 1, which is their request for the extension, that due to their they're experiencing shortage of construction labor, there were some home ownership problems with their end users. The families that were set to move into some of the units backed out, and they had to get new, families in. But now that they have that, and also the unavailability of the water service, staff has no objection to that, and we know that they are diligently, doing their work and getting the right, mix of families, and as well as marketing their program. So with that, we would recommend approval of the draft First Amendment that is attached in attachment 2. And everything that was stated can be found in paragraph 3 on the first page of that amendment. So we would request your approval of that.
Motion to approve the extension.
Second. Thank you. Do we have someone from Habitat for Humanity here?
Russell Sykes, Habitat for Humanity, South Palm Beach County, 181 Southeast 5th Avenue, Delray Beach.
Nice to meet you, Russell.
Thank you.
My question is I guess regarding does Habitat for Humanity have an openings for people to volunteer to get their 500 hours to get one of these homes, or is it that it's still in the works? Kind of like this is more for information. It's like, does Habitat have that opening now for people to help with the working at Habitat?
Yes, we do have a program of sweat equity. As a matter of fact, that is a requirement for future home ownership. The future families must work on their home as well as the fellow future homeowners' homes in the building process.
All right. And and there's openings, there's new homes being built constantly, and so you have those opportunities available for people that want to be in a Habitat for Humanity home?
Right now we do. I encourage the entire board to visit Northwest 11th Avenue. There's a great deal of construction going on up there. We have the 5 homes. 3 of them are in various stages of construction now, and 2 more will be up before Mother's Day this year. So we do have those opportunities. Of course, we're always looking for additional land opportunities in Boynton Beach.
Thank you.
A question,
Yes.
thank you, in regards to the sweat equity.
Yes.
Have you ever had a family to renege, and I got mine, I'm not going to do nobody else's? Have you ever had that?
No, our homeowner director works very closely with the families through constant meetings and counselings to ensure that they stay on track and that they participate fully within the program.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
The new item 14G, discussion regarding Boynton Beach officers to be part of the Neighborhood Officer Program.
The item, I think, is consideration. It was mentioned at the last meeting by a board member of encouraging other officers within the force to maybe step up and, help out these injured officers. So we had kind of a deficit of our neighborhood officer program. Both Officer Paramore and Officer Givanet have experienced various injuries that have, I guess, curtailed that activity from a light duty or a full recovery and not being in the field. And it was discussed at the last meeting that it just kind of, I guess it would be great if somebody would do that, and that would be wonderful. I believe the item that's being discussed this evening is whether or not the CRA would like to provide additional funding or a pool of funding that would be available for officers to work overtime or almost like a special detail that we have for other types of activities to take on some of the workload of our current force, of our current NOT program.
So we were supposed to get, go from our sergeant 2 officer model to 3 officers and a CSO.
Yes, sir.
Were we given another officer or a CSO?
We do not. We do not have another officer or a CSO.
So with those funds that we allocated, we are not spending those funds.
Correct. That is available funding.
And so that is where I expect the available funding to go from, that it is already a line item, that we're not moving any of the money around, and that for certain officers that want to be a part of our neighborhood officer program, they can try it out and for the overtime. So that is where I'd like to get the motion to allow for neighborhood officers to be a part of this program, or to be Boynton Beach officers to be allowed to be a part of the neighborhood officer program. Board Member McCray.
Thank you. Chair, I'd like to hear from the chief, and the reason I want to hear from him is because, first of all, we said that we don't have enough officers to do what they're supposed to be doing, and I don't know when these officers will be coming back, but I'd like to hear the insight from the chief, who's the person that really has to oversee what we're requesting, if there's any objections, anybody stepping up saying, I would do it, I'm volunteering, or what. I'd like to hear from the head honcho this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Michael Gregory, Police Chief.
Uh-oh, we've got a mask.
Where's the hand sanitizer, guys?
Easy. Just clearing my throat. So, yes. Thank you. Yes, we have the 2 officers, one still out on leave, and one is back on light duty and in limited capacity assisting with prior tasks like mentoring non-law enforcement related type of activities. We don't have a full timeline that's going to be on the doctor, giving us monthly updates to their progress when they'll be fully activated. But I do think that that would be, as there is a need for additional coverage of events and/or activities in the CRA area, that the utilization of the salary savings or for overtime would be an appropriate use to help overstaff those type of activities. I do want to let the board know, though, that we are going full speed ahead with our hiring program. That we've already worked very closely and cooperatively with HR to get all the changes we need to get in place. Last November, we opened up accepting applications again. We've got over 100 plus applications in a 2-week period. Those were our training wheels to take those applications through our new process that we put in place, and that's all been very successful. We open it back up again in February, and the intention here is that we'll be doing continuous hiring from this point forward. No more waves of avalanche of applications and then a dry spell, and then we open it back up again, and now we're buried trying to dig out through all these applications. A much more streamlined and paced, even flow of applications coming in, being processed as they come in, applicants being tested every single month at different times of day, will certainly help our staff to process applicants and fill the vacancies that we have. We already have as of an update I got earlier, about 11 applicants that are fully in the background process. We've already selected them. They are being worked, and some have actually gone as far as the psychological and has passed that already. So we're full bore into that. Again, we are still accepting applications, and now while we have people in background, more applications are coming through the process, and that's what we want. We want the full pipeline of activity of moving applicants from application to onboarding and being successful with our training. That includes both certified and non-certified officers. So obviously the certified officers will realize them on the road quicker. The non-certified officers would have to go to the police academy and spend about 5 months offline over there before they come back to us. So we're going at both groups of folks. Obviously the certifieds are harder to acquire than non-certifieds, but we want to do everything we can to fill the vacancies we have. As those fill up, that'll increase our ability to help staff on duty additional activity in the CRA. And again, I want to emphasize additional. Right now, the CRA is a part of the city geographically. It's inside our boundary. It is a part of our regular patrol districts. There are officers currently assigned to the CRA in zones. They patrol there every day. They attend activities there. They are already answering calls for service and responding to any critical incident inside the CRA. The NOP program is above and beyond the regular level of service. It's an enhanced level of service as required by the statute enabling the CRA to use those funds for that purpose. So it's above and beyond what the zone officers do in that area. So there are officers there, but for the extra activities that NOP will be involved in, I believe that would be a great idea to be able to, if we could fund overtime to assist with that until these officers are back on their feet.
So you're saying that for the NOP, that your group is willing to work, I'm just saying overtime if we need them.
We can post it for volunteers to take that overtime and go out there and do that, yes.
Okay. You answered my question. I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
I'd personally be in favor of presenting this idea to the police officers union so that they can provide firsthand input on this, because they might have opinions of their own, and we're talking about, creating additional assignments. Even if it's a voluntary opportunity, we're setting conditions without engaging the employees. I think that, they should be a part of this dialogue, because whether people volunteer to take the assignment or not, it's still a working condition that they should have input on, in my opinion.
Chief, are you treating it internally like a
I would say
detail?
that would be a management right, and that we wouldn't want to necessarily grant privilege where it's not necessarily afforded by the CBA.
I fully understand and respect the position while
Board Member Pinsurga.
I just wanted to thank you, Chair, for bringing this up, adding it to the agenda. This is something I fully support. I have spoken to the chief about this, and one of the things that will be are on the same page on is that this is something that officers, non-NOP officers, have to volunteer, and that this must be done fairly. We can choose which officers we want. We want to make sure that if we proceed in this direction, that all officers have a chance to take some overtime by coming over to the CRA. You know, it's only natural that, you know, some people get injured, it happens, and, you know, if they were missing for, you know, out for a day or two, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but if they're missing for weeks and months, we do need to fill that gap, and I think this is an excellent way to do that, and it incentivizes them to be in the CRA, and I don't know who said it, but it also gives them a chance to experience what those activities are. I fully support this, and looking forward to voting on it.
Right. And, oh, yes, Board Member Romulus.
Why haven't we filled that CSO position that we allocated funding for?
The CSO position?
Right, we had
Yes, that should be posted, if not, it may be posted already. There was language that needed to be corrected in the job description and some administrative things before it can be announced. We haven't had that position in use in quite a while as far as on patrol and taking calls for service. The current CSOs work in our traffic area and have different type of administrative responsibilities. So the operations team wanted to go back through, make sure that all the tasks that we want to make, that we want them to be doing in a patrol type role and answering calls for service are included, and that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed before they start announcing that and putting it out for applications. But I believe that's all been resolved, and I can double check to see if it's been posted yet. It should be imminent.
Okay, so when we I believe we approved this at the, when did we approve the?
It should have been part of the budget in October.
So it was prior to the beginning of this fiscal year that we approved for?
No, it was this fiscal year we approved it.
It was this fiscal year that we approved for the 3 officers and 1 CSO, yes? That's what we approved? Okay, all right. So understanding that and that there is an unfilled position and that money has already been allocated, I'm fine with that. That wasn't my original view of this program, but I'm okay with it, and I think it's an extra opportunity for the police officers to, 1, get some overtime hours, which I'm sure a lot of them usually want, and 2, to interact with, you know, on the ground, be boots on the ground and interact with residents in our community. So I think it's a win-win.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, and Chief, thank you. You know, this is a great opportunity to have our officers be more proactive in the community. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We're on to new business. Consideration of bid award for responses to the request for proposals for website design, build, and maintenance services.
Tweesha for the record again. And I just want to ask your patience because this item is out of my technical expertise, but I have been up to speed on it as much as I can. Again, our website is due for an overhaul, especially with the limitations, some of the design, and also the ADA compliance. So staff has issued an RFP for website design, build, and maintenance request for proposal that was issued in January 22nd and due in February 20th. That can be found on attachment 1 and 2, including an addendum to the RFP that was issued. The proposal these proposals were evaluated based on the respondent's knowledge and experience, quality of work, methodology, and in addition to the cost to perform the scope of services. Those selection criteria can also be found on attachment 1, pages 5 through 6. Points were assigned to these criteria. The first criteria is organizational overview, which really is the knowledge, skills, and experience, and past experience working with similar websites such as ours. That's 35 points assigned. 35 points was assigned to program development. This, in summary, is really the methodology in which they will approach our project and how they would deliver the product. And the last criteria, which is worth 30 points, which is the fee proposal. Basically, it's based on a lump sum to cover requirements as outlined in the scope of work, which is Exhibit A, as well as an hourly rate for additional consultation, and also a lump sum service, including reimbursable and or out-of-pocket expenses. And that fee proposal is found in Exhibit I of each of their proposals. The individual proposals are in attachments 3A, B, and C. There were 4 proposals that were received by the CRA. One in alphabetical order is Achieve Causes, or Cause Tech, doing business as Achieve Causes. They're based in West Palm Beach, Florida. Granicus is the second proposer. They're based in Denver, Colorado. However, they have representation in the county. Third proposal is ePath USA, and they're out of Des Moines, Iowa. And the fourth proposal is VUP Media. As indicated in the staff report, the highest ranked or highest scored proposal was Granicus LLC. I believe a representative of theirs is Mr. Byron Gillis.
You have a, did you give us a breakdown of how they got that in the backup?
Yes, so as you, in attachment, exactly, in attachment 4, we provided you also with an enlarged copy because I know I can't read it either. So this is a sufficiency checklist that staff had gone through when we received the proposal, and then following on the second page is actually the scoring from the evaluation committee.
So do you have that scoring from the evaluation committee?
Yes, it's in, yes, it's in the page 2 in the backup, attachment 4.
All right.
So as you can see, the total was provided with Granicus receiving 439 points overall. Then there was a tie for Achieve Causes and VUP Media at 398 points. And lastly, with ePath USA at 334 points. Just to do an overview of the costs and the total costs as well as the annual maintenance, Granicus's cost was $23,500. That is inclusive of a $19,500 cost to do the website design, of $4,000 per year for the maintenance, hosting, and support, and $200 per hour. So with that, in that cost, it also includes unlimited changes until we launch the website, as well as the fact there will be approximately 9 months to design the website.
Do I see here? Oh, no, thanks.
So Granicus received this higher point scoring due to their, once again, their knowledge and experience, their experience with government entities, the quality of work and creativity, their organizational capacity and program development. The contract itself will be up to 3 one-year renewal, and at these costs, and the additional ability for the changes of scope and services, consistent as the board approve the fiscal year budget, if it's going to be a continuous 3-year total. Also, termination could be at any time for any reason. Staff would also like to request the board, and we'll go over the 2 action that we would request your consideration on, that because Granicus did include in the proposal a couple of edits to our standard contract, that we would wish that the board, should the board direct us to negotiate with Granicus, that the board authorizes the chair to execute, and upon, or actually contingent on, final legal review of the document, the contract document, because there were some substantive legal edits that needs to be discussed. So in awarding the contract, staff will also, prior to award the contract, also do reference checks as well as any legal, items that may come up as well. So we would like the board to have 2 motions. One, to award the contract to Granicus LLC in the amount as stated of $19,500 for the design and build of the website, of $4,000 per year maintenance, hosting and support, an additional consultation of $200 an hour, and direct staff to commence negotiation with Granicus LLC, and authorize board chair to execute the contract contingent on legal review. The second motion, by separate motion, should we not come to an agreement with Granicus, that the board directs us to award the contract with the next highest ranked respondents in the order as selected by the board, because there's a tie between the two second place scores, which is Achieve Causes, and VUP Media. So if for any reason Granicus and the CRA fail to execute the contract, we would like the board to direct us to go to the next highest, or the next qualified highest team. And the third option is to not do the award and have direction to staff to proceed. So with that, we're here for any other questions with respect to the sufficiency checklist, as well as any requirements of the RFP.
Right, Vice Chair.
How many hours annually would you anticipate of additional consultation?
So for Granicus, we don't anticipate a lot. Again, it'll be a new website, so we don't know what language you'll be in. So to simplify the way the website is designed in standard industry, you have something that is what they call open CMS, which is your Joomla, your WordPress, your Drupal, which is what the city uses for their language to develop the website, and you have another, which is non-open source, which is a creative, customized program to do that. And that's what Granicus is proposing. They're proposing really a customized approach so that once they hand it over to staff, it will be easily maintainable and easily edited. So with that, I would believe that before we would ask for additional consultation, that the package they give to us, which is unlimited revision, so they'll have some soft launches as well as test launches. They indicated it'll be unlimited number of revision, whereas the other respondents included a maximum amount of revision before they launch. So we think for the cost benefit and to the favor of the CRA, that we're getting a customized website product with the national resources that we have for the price that's only about $1,000 less than the lowest respondent. And just to note, all three of the top three respondents, the CRA has had, or the city has had some kind of experience with them. For instance, Granicus does our Novus agenda. They don't do our website, but they have experience with the CRA staff, even though they're a national brand. VUP, we've had experience with them, and they've done a great job with our 2-minute video for the businesses as our videographer. And Achieve Causes is a website designer for the city website. So with those three, staff is willing to work with any one of those three, and we've had experience with all of them in different various projects.
So short answer, because of the unlimited upfront customization, you don't anticipate, because they have the highest and a markedly higher hourly consultation rate, but
we don't anticipate it'll be,
so.
And we can negotiate a not to exceed yearly.
Okay.
All right. So may I have a motion to approve Granicus as the winner?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Granicus a question.
All right.
Okay, what was just said by the assistant and the vice chair, when you launch this, because you've done this before.
Yes, sir.
How many hours roughly do we have to look, saying the $200 an hour? I'm just saying, how many hours roughly a new person will have to coming in?
For consultation on the design of the site, is that the question? It could vary. Usually most community redevelopment agencies and special districts that we work with throughout the country, 200 is way more than enough hours for doing that. But that's why, because of all the resources we have and 4,000 plus clients, we have the ability to offer the ability to do unlimited revisions during the design process.
Let me ask it another way. I think you missed it. I'm just saying, I'm John Doe. I just got to this program. How many hours can I expect, like consultation, by you launching this program? 2 hours, 3 hours before we be up and running? It takes 10 hours. This is what, probably I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, the design process, after the design process is complete, which is typically about the 9-month process of consultation with the organization to make sure the right brand is being presented. After that, staff would take anywhere between an hour to 2 hours to learn the product and keeping the content updated. Does that answer your question?
Oh, I see why you look as smart as I do. Thank you.
No, not at all.
I think he's
Training-
trying.
Yeah, training is included in the
That's
package.
the part I need to hear,
Yeah.
training.
And
So-
it's just the additional after the $200 an hour. He's asking how,
What qualifies as that additional consultation after it's launched and everything? So I think that's, like, when would we call on you for that additional, that consultation?
Being a Florida resident and having a lot of clients here, the number one issue, ADA, WCAG, and the moving rules the Department of Justice has on that, and the consistent revisions on that. And Vision Internet is this company of GovAccess. I'm actually one of the co-founders of Novus Agenda, so proudly seeing that here today. So I've been through this process. The ADA compliance is the reason why we strategically acquired this particular technology stack of GovAccess.
Thank you. Congratulations.
And so I guess my question, besides the ADA, what do you feel that our website is lacking that you're going to bring?
I would have to give that to designers that are much more qualified than myself.
Okay. So one of the major things that I really enjoy about our city website is that search function. That makes it a lot easier, that you can type it into Google and you can figure it out. So
When searching.
yeah.
So with Granicus, our whole philosophy is the citizen, business owners, and visitors in this community is who we're serving. So when you search, you're not only searching the web content, but you also be searching your meeting content all in one interface, so it easily can find that information. That's our whole investment thesis of the Granicus.
All right. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board. Appreciate it.
And the second one, Twee?
yeah, the second motion is to allow authorize staff to negotiate with the next highest rank should Granicus contract negotiation fail, and then the board needs to break the tie between Achieve Causes and VUP Media.
So
I
would.
believe a representative from Achieve Media is here. Should you have any questions? And VUP, I'm sorry, I couldn't see.
Okay, so we have the two candidates to break the tie. So if, why don't we have VUP, because they're our current website provider. I saw on the website. And then we'll go with.
Actually, they are not our website. They are actually our current videographer for the business development videos, yes.
Yeah, I saw on their website that they listed us, so.
I'm sorry.
Client highlights.
Hi, Sandra Fogel, 2012 Alta Meadows Lane, Delray Beach, here representing VUP Media.
A little bit more into the microphone.
Please.
Better?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're here to give us your 2-minute pitch why we should
So
select you.
I guess first of all, my question is the RFP required or stated open source CMS. Open source CMS was what we presented. It doesn't seem as though open source is what you're buying into at this point. So I think my question is clarification on the decision not being open source CMS and what is it being built in.
That wouldn't be us. Yeah.
Ms. Borchert, I can speak to that. In Addendum 1, there was a question, not a question, a revision to require that, but at the prelude to that requirement, it also states that, again, I'll read that extra thing. The website must use a cost-effective system and shall be open source CMS. So yes, Granicus did not use open source. They do a customization. However, when the evaluation committee reviewed their strength of their proposal, we are, in essence, looking at the cost benefit. You are getting a customized website for almost comparable to the price of a standard open source CMS, which are your Joomla language, your Drupal, and your WordPress, those type of program. The board could choose to effectively select the one firm that's in the best interest of the CRA, weighing all the requirements, because staff, again, and the evaluation committee only has these paper copies to review, and we need to balance the cost effectiveness for the quality and the knowledge skills that the respondent has to deliver. So yes, the board could choose to waive those requirements if it's in the best interest of the CRA to receive the product in the most cost-effective way.
So we chose to propose either Drupal or WordPress. Both are very well known. All of those are very customizable. So you're not looking at a template and only getting navigation. You're getting a custom solution for what it is that your needs are, even though it's not a custom build, if you will. So our pitch was not only speed to market, including your brand, including all of the features that were outlined, and some that we were also bringing forth and sort of future-proof with scalability with our proposal. So our proposal is probably half of the time that the first winner is proposing. We're proposing in just under 5 months, both having worked with all of the CRA team members, understanding your brand, understanding what it is that is required from a search capability, from calendars, from integration and third-party components to it. So we are proposing 2 open source CMSs that are very well known, extremely customizable to what it is that the goals are here, and also in half of the time.
Thank you. And so next would be Cause Tech LLC doing business as Achieve Causes.
Hi, this is Clay Williams with Achieve. So 2-minute elevator pitch. So Achieve specializes in causes and civic organizations. We had the pleasure to work with the city for several years now. We, like VUP, did propose an open source product based on the Drupal platform. We've had years of experience with that. We choose Drupal because it's a much more secure platform. Drupal 8, which is the current build we use, is designed to support WCAG or ADA guidelines built into it. In fact, we're going through an audit with the city now where we've been helping them making sure their content is accessible. I think we have a lot of, tremendous amount of experience. We probably launched 600, the current team's launched over 600 websites in the last 10 to 12 years. We launch 3 or 4 websites a month. We work primarily with nonprofit organizations and civic-based organizations. The proposal also includes a custom design, so there's a design process involved there. As far as we do typically have a liberal revision process in there, but in our proposal language, we do limit that. The number of revisions for the design process. Once you're past the design process, the CMS allows you to make unlimited revisions. And then I would just call out on the open source issue that the advantage of open source is you own the ultimate work product, so you can take that product to any other provider to continue to support it, whereas on a closed or proprietary system, you're kind of locked into that vendor, meaning any changes you want to make in the future, you're going to be paying that higher rate for those changes, and no one else will be able to support that product. Not that I'm sure it's a fine solution. I respect the decision that the group has made, but just want to make that point. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question, sir. Excuse me, and I'm going to ask a question to the young lady that was up here.
Mm-hmm.
How many have you done for a CRA?
For CRA, we have not done a CRA website.
Thank you. I need to ask you the same question. Have you ever done one for the CRA?
You got to come speak in the microphone.
We did do the DDA website in West Palm.
We have done 2 CRAs in South Florida, Dania Beach, and North Miami, and the DDA in Delray Beach.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
And what is your timeline to?
Oh, sorry. I think we proposed, it's a little variable, but I think in the addendum we quoted 5 or 6 months.
It's actually you did 12 months, 2 weeks, and VUP was 4 months, 3 weeks.
12 months on the addendum?
yes, you had 10 months, 10 weeks. So that would be 12 months.
Oh, we did, yes, yeah. And that's, typically that's, to launch, that includes time. The site technically can be built in 6 to 8 weeks, but that includes time for reviews and process and getting content organized and that sort of thing, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, tough decision you put us in. Thanks. Thinking with for achieved causes, because they are working with the city already, whereas VUP Media will be getting a newer website more or less faster. I think it's a toss-up, but I'm kind of leaning towards VUP Media, just because we do our video with them, and so having that integration of our video to our website, I think is going to be very valuable, so that hopefully if people want to view an item, they can look at the video rather than try to scroll the YouTube. And so does anybody else have any suggestions or recommendations or discussions? If not, may I have a motion to approve VUP Media as the secondary candidate if the first winner does not, and the CRA do not come to terms?
If I may, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I heard a second.
I did. I guess I did.
Yeah. All those in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's also to include authorize the chair to execute the contract upon contingent on legal review.
Catherine, you
There are
got that?
some- Got it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for all the applicants. Appreciate it. 15B, consideration of the fiscal year 2019-2020 CRA Affordable and Workforce Housing Grant Program.
It's like a marathon meeting. Tweet shut for the record. It's also my item. Again, as you recall, in October 2017, the board had approved a similar grant for the nonprofit organization to deliver workforce and affordable housing. As a result of the change in statutory requirements, that program has been discontinued, and the board had allocated the budgeted amount, $95,000, towards assisting in the rehabilitation or development of affordable and workforce housing. Staff was asked to bring this item back. We had presented to the board on December 10th some parameters to look at with respect to who the applicant is, the maximum income range, whether it's fee simple ownership that the board want to concentrate the money to assist, as well as any kind of instrument to secure the affordability and the range of affordability. Since then, the board has given us direction. If you look on the first page of your report cover, it actually details some of the board direction that staff has received. I can go quickly through them. Basically, this will be open to for-profit and nonprofit entities, which means any of our previous applicant for the nonprofit affordable housing grant could apply. There will be no match that's required. However, the board also instructed staff to allocate $45,000 for rehabilitation activities, as well as $50,000 for the new construction activities. There were no requirements for a maximum grant amount. However, staff, knowing that there isn't one of those requirements, we would suggest that the board consider maybe a maximum per unit account, so that you don't have one applicant apply, so that you can serve more residents, basically, to spread that around. The minimum number of units, the board did not dictate how many minimum units. The type of ownership, the board would like to encourage fee simple home ownership, as well as the target household income at 100% area median income. Access to funding, it will be similar to our economic development grant program, where payment can be received upon 30 days after the project is completed or the work has been done for the allocated fund. The review process will be a staff review with the board approving the grant, similar to what we do now with the for-profit business grants. And then again, the credit report for each applicant. The board did discuss the instruments to secure the public interest, and it was discussed that there should not be a second. There's two ways in which you can secure that. One, through a deed restriction, or two, by a silent second mortgage placed on the property. The board also directed staff for the rehab units to consider properties that are assessed in the property appraiser's valuation, not to exceed $250,000. However, for new units, not knowing who the end users are, these are going to be grants to the developer to put up affordable housing units or develop affordable housing unit. We don't know who the end users are. So with that, the board may want to consider if, some other instrument, but we and legal staff really would suggest either a second mortgage, a silent second mortgage, for the term that the board would want. However, the board want to receive that back should that end user sell the property within that period of affordability. It could be a 10-year where each year you would forgive 10%, if they stay there. And once they stay there for the 10 years, it's theirs to do as needed. So that range of affordability and how you would get the money back into the program, that you would want to discuss. These, again, for the for-profit developer to ensure that somebody doesn't receive the money to build the homes, sell it to the first set of owners, and then resell it for a higher price. So you would not be able to preserve that affordability range. So this is just for the board to consider. That's why we have the draft stamps all over it. Please give us direction for the programs, for the eligibility requirements. And just to note that in this application, we would expect that the grantee who's applying would have to give us how, if they already are doing that, how they're slating end users and they're doing the income qualifications. So most of your nonprofit already has a system of preserving the affordability because that's their mission. They also have either a land trust of some sort or some other instrument so that that home will be preserved for the next affordable user that will come in.
So Tweeve, you gave us a lot of information, didn't let us really breathe. So there's two parts to this. Let's go over regarding the new home construction first, because that's where we have the soft second for the grantee from the developer, where I like to do it the same thing we did with South Florida Marine, where we have that diminishing soft second. I think it's over 10 years.
Okay.
Whereas we don't want to get into the 30-year
no.
anymore, and so that's something that we may want to reconsider for any sort of outstanding 30-year soft seconds that we have, that we should really just end them at 10 years. And so that's kind of where I'm doing for that. As for the income requirements, of the grantee, is that let's do it as workforce housing, which is 120% of the median income for Palm Beach County. And that way, I think, that should be the requirement. And I know that depending on family size, it goes up or goes down, but we have that as the basis. If
it's your max, the 120 is your max assistance level.
Right.
Correct. That it's kind of like we don't want someone to make 121%, but I also want to have that leeway. So if someone's between 120, 130, 120, 140, that they're not punished for making an extra $500 to $2,000.
Well, if you want to go higher than the 120, you can. It would be easier, I think, for the board to establish your max on the application side. And there's nothing prohibiting the CRA statutorily, because we're not federally funded. So you can set your max at 140 or 100 or it's up 140 is considered the high end of the workforce.
Okay, then let's just do it at,
People are pushing it to that. That's about as high as they go on that.
so I'll ask the board if they agree with 120 or 140. Because let's just put it at 140 because we want people coming in here.
Okay. Do you want to have a minimum threshold or just the max? Very
Just
good.
max,
Okay.
if they can, get the down payment.
140.
And so you have the directions regarding new homes. Now it's the rehabilitation. And this is kind of, the question is, the homeowner who needs help, do they need to get the contractor to help fill out the application? Or does the homeowner need to fill out the application, get approval, and then find a contractor?
This is for,
For rehab, we can run it either way. It could be done either way. The work would have to be done and the city approve the work
Yeah.
before they'd be reimbursed.
Correct.
So, of course, a business owner that's doing roofs has a customer ready to go, and maybe they would see this as an opportunity to assist them. Or a homeowner themselves, when we advertise it, would say, oh, I need a new roof, so I'm going to go through that process. So it really, it's, I think both ways will work, and establishing what that, again, max level of homeowner income or assistance level is important.
So it's meant for the property owner, and that way a property owner can get conditional approval and find a contractor versus, along with a property owner who has a contractor, they can also apply. So someone, doesn't need to worry about hiring somebody, seeing how much it costs without knowing that they can get the 50% reimbursal for certain items.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can add the individual property owners.
It'd be like
on
our
the
commercial
eligibility
facade grant.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and I think you'll see the grant is similar to our economic development
Mm-hmm.
grant, with the exception of the eligibility will add the individual homeowners as well as nonprofit or for-profit for the rehab allocations.
Okay.
And I think the board decided no secured interest in that because the amount may be too small.
Correct. I saw it's a maximum of 10,000 per unit.
We suggested that for your consideration.
And, I think we should try to start with 5,000 as a maximum
For the rehab?
for the rehab. That way, it doesn't just go to 4 or 5 people, that we can try to get 9, maybe even 10 people.
Okay.
And that was owner applying, not contractor applying.
So,
Or both.
So it's the owner applies or the owner applies with the contractor are going to be treated equally. So that way, an owner who wants something to get done knows that he's going to get he or she is going to get assistance before getting the estimates and moving forward.
Very good.
I think it's kind of like, we can, easily see if they've gotten permits held before, and that's kind of where most of these improvements require permits.
And we did add the 50% match up to 5,000 for which you like to still have the 50% match.
So yeah, so if someone spends $10,000, they can get the $5,000 back rather than someone spending $20,000 and getting $10,000 back.
Okay, great.
And then one other item for the new units. Again, we would like to at least have the developer know, where the property they're going to build this. So we had proposed that the closing documents, that they need to close within 30 days. If the board feels that that's too short of a time,
Yes.
that could be. So would you like to, for us to consider an alternate?
Normally 60 days, sounds a little bit more reasonable.
So we want to make sure that they can get going on it and not hold up the money.
Okay. And the last thing is that I remember I had a meeting with our executive director regarding a developer in the heart of Boynton Beach, and I mentioned regarding the security improvement commercial grant. And I don't know if we want to have that discussion today, but if the board would allow developers of single-family homes to be able to get that security grant, so that the story goes, sod was stolen from their property, and you could see the dirt trail. However, the police officer said, well, who saw them steal it in the act? And there was nobody that they could come forward, so they were unable to make that connection. So that's why I'd like to make it so, including Habitat for Humanity, that they would be able to get this security enhancement grant for both commercial and new home construction.
So I would suggest on page 4 of the draft grant agreement where it has the eligible funding to add security system in there, right
Yep.
underneath the electrical system.
I'm sorry, Twee, I think that board chair is trying to go.
I don't know if this is the right time to put it in.
Yes, I wasn't sure if you were going to add that as an item that's eligible in the repair of the residential. If you'd like to add that as an item to the commercial grant, that residential folks could come and get the security reimbursement, we would need to amend that program entirely to allow that to come in.
Okay.
The agreement. So
All right, yeah.
it's probably less.
So I don't want,
This would be an item that you could get under the homeowner grant if you include that with your lighting and electrical.
Well,
if somebody also put in a security system, it would, in these residences, then it would be an eligible item to be reimbursed. Most likely, a new home is going to exceed the 2,000 anyway, and the rehab, if you allow it to be an item, then it would be under the 5,000, so they could.
So what I'd like to say then is that what I just said, let's discuss that at a future time regarding the new home construction and the residential improvement regarding security enhancement grants in the CRA.
Okay.
All right. Board Member Ramos, thank you for being patient.
Thank you. All right, so I wanted to go back to a discussion that you were having earlier in regards to either the applicant applying or the contractor applying. I'm fine with, I would prefer it to be both. That way it can go either way. But what I want to make sure we also add in here is if there's any work that's done and maybe a resident finds out later on that this grant was available and they didn't take advantage of it, that there should be a 6 or 12-month grace period that they can still apply in retrospect after permits have been issued and whatnot. I'm talking about the rehab portion here.
So I would say
That was an issue that we had with our sustainable.
Our commercial grant is
no,
90 days,
Yeah.
as opposed to months, but you could allow someone to come in afterwards.
So regarding Board Member Romulus, it's kind of like this fiscal year started on October 1st. So if someone started their home improvements after October 1st, they may be eligible for reimbursement, noting that the city already approved of it within the last couple of months.
Right.
So basically, we have it at this fiscal year, so we're not going back into net last year with the money that has been allocated for this project, but it has to, the money will use the permit date as the starting date, if that's okay with you, Board Member Romulus?
I'm fine with that. You're saying, wait, say what you're saying.
So any permit issued after October 1st is entitled to reimbursement.
Within the time within the fiscal year, or?
Yeah, so that it starts from this fiscal year, so that way, if we want to do this program next year, we can start it again at October 1st.
I would be in agreement with that.
Okay.
And with the last thing is if the board would like for us to implement the program, there's a recommended timeline that's in the staff report. If the board chooses for us to bring it back, that's okay too. We'll adjust the dates. But as it stands right now, should the board approve it, contingent on all those revisions, we would start doing a notice of available funding advertisement April 6th, and then we would have a workshop like we did before on April 15th to familiarize people with the process.
No, income tax date.
Oh, we can move it
Yeah.
another date. It doesn't matter.
And
We would recommend one at noon and one at 6 o'clock. And then the application submission, we can start accepting in April 20th because we know it's a new program and we want to make sure that people successfully can have time and ask questions and so on and so forth. But it'll be first come, first serve.
Okay. So one of the things I saw regarding reimbursement, that it needs to be, the back of a canceled check or a cashier's check, so a credit card payment would not comply, or it would?
We mirrored this towards the economic development grant, but yes, we would rather have as proof of payment in that form.
Okay, and then, so I guess, as we're moving forward, so if anyone, before, is looking for reimbursement and they paid with a credit card, that they are not penalized if we can show that the credit card bill is paid.
Yes, well, I think we could there's a way for us to track to make sure that the goods and services are received at that address within the grant date, and to the contractor, to the
Right, because this is a reimbursement to the homeowner, not the contractor.
Exactly. But we just need to make sure the paper trail's there to make sure that we get the goods and services delivered to the property in the CRA district. So
Correct.
they have to inventory it out.
Right.
I think it should be okay as long as they can provide all that.
Right, and so one of the requirements is that they had to get a permit.
Yes, that is one of the requirements. There's a form in there, and they have to verify zoning that they could do what they need to do in there.
All right, thank you. All right, so do you need a motion to approve
Yes.
this as stated?
Yes, as revised,
Catherine,
and then
you
also.
want to help us with the motion?
Well, I think you can probably read the, approve the grant application process and timeline for the new CRA Affordable and Workforce Housing Grant Program, and authorize staff to implement the program subject to final review by legal counsel.
So moved.
Second.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Board, if I may bring to your attention one more item. Last month, the board apparently passed Resolution 20-001. That was the one Vicki referenced when she was up here. There's some ambiguity in the record about it, so if the board would please readopt that resolution to clear up that ambiguity, that would be great.
So,
What's the ambiguity? What?
It has to do with the
clarifying?
funding allocation item and the moving of the funds, the $200,000 into the self-insurance fund. It's done by resolution.
It's in your budget item. It was item number 3. It was actually...
It's old business A.
Didn't we just do that earlier?
Well...
So we need a motion and a second?
You need a motion and a second, and it's to readopt what the board adopted last month.
Right.
Now for the motion.
Do we have a second?
I seconded y'all.
Thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good, right? Now, you don't even need to go to the gym now.
I'm going to go to the gym now.
We have a motion to adjourn?
All right.